Hello all, Shadwell here, ready to talk about the next film in my collection, Coco from 2017. It's directed by Lee Unkrich and Adrian Molina, and stars Anthony Gonzalez and Gael Garcia Bernal. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. My favorite thing about this entire movie is the spirit guide street dog that follows Miguel everywhere. His name is Dante. I guess that means he wasn't even supposed to be there that day. Ha! And that was not just a reference to the recently reviewed film trilogy Clerks, it's also a display of how far I'll go for a bad joke. So at least a couple sentences, that's not too desperate. There is another thing about this movie that is almost tied with Dante the dog, and that is the Frida Kahlo art installation as described by Frida Kahlo. That shit is absolutely hilarious. This film is wonderful, but it's also traumatic, and you'll lose at least 2 pounds in water weight by the end just from crying alone, so hydrate, people. But seriously, this film is a tearjerker. Whether they're tears of joy, tears of sadness, or tears of an absolute fucking wreck, Coco doesn't care, Coco doesn't discriminate. The basic plot is that a young boy, aspiring to be a musician, seeks his famous relative in the afterlife on the Day of the Dead who was himself a musician. That is an extremely vague plot synopsis because I don't want to give anything away, for this film will surprise you in the best possible way on multiple fronts, and it's best to experience as blind as possible. This is certainly one of Pixar's best and certainly its weepiest, although the first 6 minutes of Up does give the film a run for its money. My husband and I saw this in the theater, and I have never ugly cried like that harder in the theater with the tears and everything. It was thoroughly embarrassing, but I would gladly put myself through the public humiliation all over again to watch this film because Coco just gets it pitch perfect, and the writing is so flawless with the setups and the payoffs and the timing of things that the audience might feel like the film is playing them like a guitar as Miguel does in this film. Watch this movie, but make sure to bring your tissues, especially for the epilogue that occurs 1 year after the main action. That stuff just kills me every time I see Coco, which I'm giving an A+ for animated perfection. Pixar is pretty good at that sort of thing, well, like 90% of the time. The other 10% is the Cars movies. Tomorrow I start the 2-film The Collector series of films with the first film, The Collector, which, even though it comes second alphabetically in the series, but since they're next to each other, I will review them in chronological order. See y'all then.